In the medical nutrition therapy, we'll be talking a little bit about food portions. We are going to talk about how to put the foods, how to distribute the foods. So that's basically the Canada's food guide. It's the latest food guide. I think it was launched last year. This is basically how a healthy plate looks like. So half of your plate should be filled with fruits and vegetables with the least amount of calories and the most amount of nutrients. Should be taking up half of your plate. The other quarter of your plate should be proteins. So things like meats, chicken, fish, eggs, and then plant proteins like soybeans, lentils, legumes, nuts, seeds. So a lot of that, all these proteins are supposed to take only quarter of your plate. And then the remaining quarter should be whole grains and grains in general, or starches like pasta, rice, breads. Now, this is the simplified version. So in your comments, if you can write, does your plate look anything like this at this time? Or is half of your plate or more of your plate mostly starches? If we shifted our plate just, eating similar to what we are already eating, but just having more fruits and vegetables or more vegetables that take up our plate, first of all, we'll reduce our calories quite a bit, because fruits and vegetables, or even just vegetables in general, they take up a lot of space in our stomach. When we eat them, they take up quite a bit of space and they have very little calories. So if you actually start with eating vegetables or salads first, and then move on to your main meal, that is another strategy that can help, because it takes about 20 minutes from the moment we start eating for a signal to go to our brain that we are full, and for the brain to tell us that it's enough, then you should stop eating. So if you first of all eat slow, and if you start with vegetables first, then by the time you get to your main meal, you already start feeling full before you get halfway or deeper into your meals. Now, the way to do this is, ideally, you want to get at least 2 different kinds of vegetables. So ideally, a green and an orange colored fruit and vegetable is recommended by Health Canada, because each color has health benefits that you wouldn't get otherwise. So dark green vegetables and orange colored fruits and vegetables. So if you're thinking of orange, it would be carrots, sweet potatoes, so those sort of vegetables. And then greens, it could be any salad greens, it could be spinach, it could be kale, any of that. Now, just another reminder is that if you're eating potatoes or corn, then that would be considered as a starch. So you would be pushing that in the little corner here. So when it comes to meats and alternatives, or even plant meats, they should only take up quarter of your plate. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few examples, but then I'm going to ask you guys to think and brainstorm a few more examples. Okay. So if you're starting up, if it's just something that you've never done before, one of the basic and most easiest way would be, just instead of having 2 vegetables, you can do a fruit and a vegetable just to get started. But eventually, I do want you to move your fruits away and put vegetables in that side. But to start with, that could be something that you could start doing. If you want to do it more as a dinner, like a salad dinner, for example, then if you look at a salad like this, if you see the little potato on the corner here, that's quarter of the starches. And then the protein, which is eggs, is taking up a bit quarter of the plate, and the rest of the plate is salad. So you can do the same concept with salads. You can actually do this with breakfast. You could do it with many other options. This is another quick dinner, for example. You can just defrost some of your frozen vegetables and just saute them, or maybe steam them. And in this, bake a fish. That would be one way to do this. So I'm showing you some examples of how you can change your plate. Now, this is a guide. I want you to eventually get to this. For some of you, you might just be able to do this immediately. And then for some of you, maybe you will start with, if your rice, for example, is taking up all of your plate, then the first change would be your rice would take half of the plate, and then at least your vegetables will be quarter. And then eventually, when you're ready to move on, then I would fix up your plate and make it this way. Now, if you see brunch example, You could do something like, potatoes and eggs. And instead of bacon, a vegetable would be here. So that's sort of a few changes that you could make. I'm going to move on and I'm going to ask you this question. And so now that we've pretty much changed the sizes of your plates and we are changing the portions of your meals, do you think you'll feel hungry? So some of you said you will feel hungry, and I also believe that it's very much possible to feel hungry. When you eat less, your body will want more. So first want to know how often you are eating to be able to give you a better idea of what. But I want you to answer how many meals do you eat in a day,